This is WFO Radio.
The Big Go, the DENSO Spark Plugs NHRA National 66th Edition are this weekend, and drag racers from around the world are converging on Indianapolis, Indiana, of course, all wearing masks and social distancing as we get ready for the biggest drag race on the planet. Over 800 competitors going to be in action this weekend. The U.S. Nationals, the Jegs All-Stars, the Mickey Thompson Pro Bike Battle, and we are hyping the race here on WFO Radio. I'm Joe Castello, and for the next however long, we're going to talk it out with NHRA's Alan Reinhart and preview and think about and discuss as many storylines as we can. You guys on Facebook and on Twitter, on Twitch, and YouTube are welcome to chime in, and the comment section is open to you. Last week on the show, we had just great pre-race hype. Had Erica Enders on. She says she is so driven and determined to make up for that final round last year. It has been weighing on her, and they had a great competitive test. On Friday, we had a happy hour show. Our guest of honor was Amanda Busick, Courtney Enders, Jason Logan. But what we did was we took TJ Zizzo and Justin Ashley and put them together and had them fight it out. It was really good. They were great. They didn't fight, but we did have them ask each other questions. And it was really cool to watch those two guys, one of which will be the next and newest first-time Top Fuel winner going on this weekend at Lucas Oil Raceway. So we've got a lot to go. In fact, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, last year's winner, Doug Coletta Motorsports, going to be right here on the show. Also, Kevin McKenna, and maybe even sprinkle in a couple other stars of drag racing. Like our page, subscribe, click the bell if you're on YouTube, share, retweet, all of those things. Let's start a watch party, get it all going. Fire it up, baby. Fire it up, because Alan Reinhart is just seconds away. I do want to say what's up and shout out to our sponsors, the WFO Radio sponsors. How about this one? I'm kicking it old school to talk about one of our sponsors, right? And this is the NHRA National Dragster. I got it just the other day. Everybody gets theirs before me. I don't know why. NHRA National Dragster on Angel's wings. Angel's big victory. Of course, Angel was on the show. But look at Total Seal Piston Rings, a full-page ad in NHRA National Dragster promoting the Hidden Horsepower podcast. Yeah, that Ed Pink episode was really good. Pat Galvin texting me like, dude, the Pink episode was really good. Now we got Tom Martino up there. I should tell Reinhart about that. Tom Martino with Warren Johnson beverage stories. Really cool. But when you get your National Dragster, you're going to see Total Seal Piston Rings full page ad. My name is like right in there somewhere. And you can see it. Why do they do this? Because it is really educational about piston rings and the technology and everything that they're doing to make them thinner and lighter but last longer. And that is the general trend. You're going to spend all kinds of money on these hard parts, go fast parts. Don't skimp on the things that matter, like Ring Seal, TotalSeal.com. Also, Marvin Rodak, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs. I know Marvin. Tony Schumacher credited Rodax Coffee for giving him a boost to win the 10th U.S. Nationals. And that is pretty amazing stuff. Marvin, very humble guy, wouldn't say that, but he does have the Schumacher Champion blend. 817-924-6821. Give him a call. Give it a try. You'll love it. Definitely, you'll love it. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. I always get motivated to go drag racing after the U.S. Nationals. I'm really hoping that works for me this time so I can come back and finally take the engine out of my own personal race car. Maybe you should get motivated to do this. Dragster Adventure, you and your buddies, your sales team, your best clients, travel around the country to put together a program, and they even have the Dragster Adventure Challenge where you can race your friends. Like, how cool would that be? The all-announcer Dragster Adventure Challenge with like Brian Loans and Alan Reinhart. We'll get Kevin McKenna in there, get a bunch of people in there. It will be great. I think we should do it. Talk to Frank. Make it happen. And finally, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. I am fired up for that Samtech Factory Stock Showdown at Indy, and it's going to be great. But where's the next generation going to come from? Think about it. Engine building, CNC programming, motorsport EFI tuning, all this great racing that we've got out there. Who's going to be doing it in the next 10 years? Well, people who get a great education, get placed in the sport. Samtech.edu has got it going on. Give them a call, and they're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Go to samtech.edu. the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. And we do have a factory stock podcast up and available. Chris Holbrook, the first guest, explains why he is not going to be at the DENSO Big Go. Bummer, man. Bummer. All right. Something that is not a bummer is this guy from Tucson, Arizona. Last week he was in Indy, and now he's back in Tucson, but he's on his way to Indy. And this guy is like, he's getting those segments in, man. I know that's what it's all about. Got to get those segments in. Alan Reinhart. What's up, Alan? How are you? Happy Indy.
Well, I will tell you a couple things. One, the last thing I need is segments because I will give American Airlines credit where credit's due. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm not afraid to yell at them when I think they need to be yelled at. But they did extend everybody's status another year, so I'm not chasing platinum this year because that's already been taken care of. But funny story. When last week I got a call from them, and I'm going, oh great, really? I get off the plane and there's a message from American Airlines, and so it's like, okay, what's this going to be now? We canceled your flight, but don't worry, we booked you for a week from Thursday.
Right. When
I called, they said, we just wanted to thank you for your business. We, noticed that you have started flying on a regular basis again. We appreciate you sticking with American and doing it. And is there anything we can do for you, sir? And I basically went, who are you? And what did you do with, but no, that was very nice of them. And a couple other things, since I was listening to your opening there, and a couple things I want to mention. One, your happy hour thing on Friday is tears in your eyes funny for anybody who hasn't watched it. And it's pretty long, so they may have to break it down and watch it in segments, but it is definitely worth taking the time and listen to everybody like busted around. The other thing is for your all announcer, Frank Hawley Dragster Challenge thing. If Amanda's invited, I'm not coming because she weighs like 14 pounds. So, she and I went through Frank's school together when it was out here in Tucson. He invited the two of us to come out there and take part in it. And she was like so proud of having low ET. And it's like, yeah, because you weigh 12 pounds.
Yes.
And the rest of us are a bunch of big, dumb, ugly people. But so, if she's in on it, she has an unfair advantage unless we make her sit on a sandbag.
So the first challenge to the rules of the all-announcer Dragster Adventure Challenge has been waged. And I agree. All cars should be equal weight with driver.
Exactly. Then I'm fine with it.
I'm a pretty lightweight person, certainly compared to you and some of the others that have been mentioned, but it's only fair. It's only fair. So we already got Frank working, and he doesn't even know this thing is happening. How fun. Okay, we got comments in the comment section already. My buddy Dave Starr is out there. What's up, Dave? Derek's got a question. We'll get back to that, of course. Kathy and Dale and everybody saying what's up. Larry McBride is like a weekly viewer now. He is on with us all the time. That is great. People rooting for TJ. Yeah, Zizzo was very funny. You mentioned Zizzo. Like, I'm not ever funny, I don't think. I just put funny people together and think funny things happen. But Zizzo, he goes, can I curse? We're like, yeah. And and the rest is history.
He asked after he did it. So, he was doing the old, let's get forgiveness, not permission. But Zizzo's a funny guy. He always has been. I mean, because they run a limited schedule, and because the fans don't get to see him on a weekly basis, there's a lot of people that don't know his personality and just how outgoing and how much fun he is. But yeah, he's definitely he is a fun guy to talk to and a funny guy to hang out with.
Hashtag balloon knot. And that's what everybody is. He said balloon knot, and he said pucker factor, and he won over the audience forever. And it was pretty good. Hey, that's how, people make decisions. Like, why do I want to root for one of these drivers versus the other? They're obviously both very cool, nice guys out there running Top Fuel with big dreams. And one made me laugh more because they both were very funny. All right, Jeff wants to buy a computer from your computer guy, so you might as well sell Jeff a computer. Go.
PC Richard and Company. You can find them online, PCRichard.com.
There it is. Look at that, Jeff. So we just said we don't have a computer sponsor just yet. So
actually, PC Richard and Son, but it's PCRichard.com.
There it is. There it is. The Flying Airbrush is out there. Hey, Joe, it's the Flying Airbrush. Not sure why my name doesn't come up. Tell Alan I said hey, and it's Jaron, not Jaron. Jaron Settles, the Flying Airbrush. He's doing the you're supposed to correct the announcers, right? Like if they get it wrong.
Absolutely.
And apparently I've been calling him, I don't even know how to say it the wrong way now anymore. And I'm not going to do it because then it'll come back, but it is Iran. All right. So we were talking before the show about the amount of cars that are going to be there and the pace at which we'll have to run to capture all this incredible drag racing action between the U.S. Nationals themselves, the Dodge Hemi Challenge, the Jegs All-Stars, the Mickey Thompson Pro Bike Battle, which is just a couple of rounds, but still, it's going to be a big deal. There's a lot, and 3 qualifying sessions, of course. There's a lot of stuff going on that from when you guys start running cars on Thursday, we got to keep a pretty steady pace.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be on hustle mode, no question. I believe the official count, according to Kevin McKenna, 891 entries when it closed yesterday. 891. So, yeah, it's going to be busy. I think we're going to, I don't think we're going to be at the boatyard before sundown any night after we start racing. So that might be a Wednesday night adventure for me. Sorry, you can't come, Joe. But
yeah, whatever.
But no, it's going to be, with all the categories running, with the All-Stars, which is going to be Friday. Friday is All-Star Day. Saturday is the bike battle is going to be mixed in. Now, the Nitro cars won't hit the track until Friday night. So for Thursday and Friday, it is going to be a really hardcore sportsman couple of days. And with that many cars that have to get down the racetrack, we're going to be hustling. If there's anybody in the neighborhood that, likes the sportsman cars, likes the Lucas Oil Series, you're not going to have a whole lot fuller days than Thursday or Friday out there. So come on out and join us.
Exactly. It is going to be very hardcore, and let's just do a sweep through the categories. Of course, those of you out there on social media, you're willing to chime in with your questions, your comments, your thoughts, etc. We want you to start a watch party. If you're ever going to share the link to the show, today's the day. It's the U.S. Nationals, and it is going to be great. But let's start out in Top Alcohol Dragster, the Lucas Oil Series, where some big breaking news happened yesterday. The reigning champ, the NGK-sponsored Megan Meyer, has announced her retirement from drag racing at the conclusion of the season. She's going to chase the championship. She's going to go all the way to the end. They're scheduled races. But she's a young lady, 25-year-old young lady or some very young, very right in her prime. She's a champion already. And she says she's stepping away from the sport of drag racing as a driver. Obviously, her dad is still going to do it. Her sister is still going to do it. And in her live video, I might go bracket racing and maybe I'll do some super comp. You know how drag racing is. But I think that's big news that our reigning Top Alcohol Dragster champ and U.S. Nationals winner is stepping away.
It definitely is big news. And I was surprised, but not stunned, I think. And I didn't have any inside information. I have not spoken to her since the announcement was made. But part of me thinks, she is either about to get married or just did get married. It's supposed to happen this year, and I don't know the exact date. And okay, and my thought was that, if she wants to get out of the car, you're going to get married. I don't know if they're talking about starting a family, doing whatever, but, I don't know that the best way to start a marriage when you're young is by being on the road all the time, especially since he doesn't travel with them all the time. He has other commitments and other things that he does. And so, my first thought was this is probably more of a timeout than a retirement. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if 4 or 5 years down the road, she decides to come back and start chasing it again. But I don't know that. Again, that's just pure speculation on my part. But I applaud her for that, for understanding that, there's some things that maybe are more important to spend your time with. And I also think, for the last, whatever it's been now, 4 or 5 years, on the front wing of her dragster has been the hashtag, the championship awaits. They made no bones about it. When she started driving that car, the goal was to win the championship. They now have accomplished that goal. And for her, if she is going, okay, I came in here with a stated mission, I have accomplished my mission, and now there's another mission that I want to go try to tackle or another something I want to go do, I applaud her for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think we've seen the last of her. Randy's still going to be out there. I'm sure Rachel's still going to be driving from time to time. And I'm sure that she'll put in a cameo appearance at the racetrack, even if she's not in the car. But, she has been a lot of fun to watch as she learned, as she grew, as she had matured, both in and out of the car. She's got a tremendous social media presence, which is a big part of the reason that she's got the sponsors that she has. She's got a business doing that. She's got a lot of stuff on the plate. And I can tell you that young lady's got a lot on the ball right now. I wish her good fortune in whatever she decides to chase. And I know she's going to come see us again from time to time. So I'm okay with that. She's not leaving forever. She's taking a break. At least that's my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, if you watch, and I suggest people watch. She did a 36-minute Facebook Live. I got 22 minutes in, and then I got pulled away. Kind of like the happy hour thing you were talking about. You just get pulled away. But she addresses all of it. She says, she goes, I'm not pregnant. That's not what it is. But I do want to have a family, and that's part of it. And so you're doing something. You got to take a break. She goes, that's part of it. She goes, there's so many things that in the world that I want to do and try and see and go. And she goes, drag racing takes a lot of time. Like, you have to go, you have to work on the cars, you have to do it the right way. I've been groomed to do this since I was early teens, and I just want to take some time to do some other things. How can you blame anybody for wanting to experience other things in life? I do agree, though, Alan, you can experience some things and go out into the world and see what it's all about, and then realize, man, drag racing is really cool. I want to go back and do that. I would love to see that happen. But regardless, Megan won the race last year. She won the championship, and she's coming in to try to prove a point. All of a sudden, now we have another racer that wants to go out on top, racing for maybe even a little more than they were just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and, she's got a great team, and the team is going to continue on. So, no, I agree with everything you said. I applaud her for making the decision that, while she is young and has other things that she wants to do and wants to try, NHRA is always going to be here. So if she wants to go out, and whether it's start a family, whether it's travel the world, whether it's chase another adventure, whether it's try to build a business, how many people over the years have we seen come into the sport, spend some time, step away from the sport, devote themselves to their business, get their business to a position where it can kind of run by remote control, come back to the sport. No, and again, I think, she came into the sport with a stated goal, and she accomplished that goal. And I can tell you this, whatever it is that she states as her next goal, if she wants somebody to invest in it, give me a call, because, as driven as she is to succeed and as successful as she has been in the other things that she's done, whatever it is she puts her mind to, I think she's going to do well with it.
Another driver I want to name check, going to be out there in the top alcohol dragster category. And clearly the championship is on the line, and it's kind of a different.
Just 1 second, Joe.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, look at this.
Right in front of my bike. I'm sorry. Somebody just walked into my shop.
That's okay, though. I like it. This is live. Everybody's like, look, Alan really is at a shop. It's not all fake and hidden in his living room. It turns out it's real. There are actually people there. Makes sense.
Yes, I'm coming to you today live from the hood of my new Suburban. So,
there it is. So Sean Cowie shot at the title. He and Joey Severance in the final round the other day. Like, the championship and top alcohol dragster are going to be as meaningful as anything. But I also think of young drivers like Corey Mihalik, and the Mihalik brothers are back for this race, diving back in. It just goes to show you, even in pandemic-filled 2020, the U.S. Nationals is meaningful, and everybody is up. If they're up for any one race, this is it.
Well, and the long-term forecast looks like the high for the weekend might be about 80. When we were there a couple of weeks ago and the alcohol cars were there, it was mid-90s. It was very humid. It was not exactly, Disneyland from a performance standpoint. But I think from everything that I've seen and read, that it is going to be a whole lot more user-friendly out there, both from an air conditioned standpoint and from a track temperature standpoint. So it could end up being the throwdown race, and that's going to be fun because, when all the cool kids get together and throw down, that's when it's fun to have a job that you or I have.
I love it. Kathy wants to know about NHRA.TV on Thursday. Do we know what, is it going to be audio only? Is it going to be video? Do we know?
I don't know. And because I'm doing this on my phone, I can't even shoot somebody a text and ask. My knee-jerk guess would be that there will probably be video, but that's simply a guess.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do a text, because I've got a computer here. We'll figure it all out. We'll get to the bottom of it, folks. You stay with us. But I wouldn't mind. Like, my guess is it will at very least be audio and hopefully video. We'll find out very soon.
If somebody really wants to know, send me an email, and when we get done with this, I'll find an answer. And I always mention at the end, but it's announcer@nhra.com comes to me. So if you got if you really want to know that, or if you got a question about something else, just send me an email, announcer@nhra.com, and I will get back to you this afternoon. I don't monitor it in real time, so. If you're going to call and tell me that, my banner's crooked or one of my cylinder heads is outdated behind me, then I don't care.
Well, and we have live virtual producers. They're all going to go out and share the information.
That's a stage 7. That's not outdated.
Oh, really?
And this one, I don't know if you can see this one or not. That is a prototype, so it's definitely not outdated.
Oh, man. See, now everybody's going to be blowing up the video and zooming in to see all the latest, greatest. Makes perfect sense. So,
Right here where it says stage 7.
Incredible. Well, it's amazing how they have advanced. But now NHRA has pretty much locked it down with stage 7. You're showing us a prototype. I'm under the impression that we're like locking down that kind of stuff, that kind of development, Alan.
I didn't say that was a nitro head.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Makes perfect sense. There he is, Alan Reinhart. He's cutting edge with this stuff. All right, alcohol funny car. I got a couple that are.
I'm going to build my own. That's the bottom of my 2-piece backset manifold.
Oh, there he goes.
That's the top of my 2-piece backset manifold.
Look at that thing. That is incredible. This is not a cackle.
You need a set of rocker arms, so if anybody's got a set of rocker arms out there, just shoot me an email and I'll give you an address to send them to.
There it is.
I need a drive shaft for my Suburban. Who would take a drive shaft out of a Suburban?
For what purpose? I
have no idea. I just bought this thing, and it was like not quite sitting in a field, but almost. And since the weeds were quite tall, I didn't crawl under it. And after I got it home, I find out the drive shaft is gone.
That's terrible.
Yeah, you'll really enjoy this. Now, since I'm just going off on 10. I turned all Steve Johnson on you now, right?
That's fine. We like that stuff. We got comments in the comment section. Everybody loves it.
Called one of my local auto recyclers here that I do some business with, and I said, "Hey man, you got one of these?" And he went, "Nope." And he said, "That only fits that. I mean, it's not even the same if it's a pickup truck or anything. It only fits 2-wheel drive, small block Suburban for a couple of years, blah, blah, blah." He says, "Let me put it out on the wire. There's one in Ohio. So I called the guy in Ohio and I said, "Hey, you got this?" And he said, "Yep, got it." He said, "You're going to have to come pick it up because I won't ship." I said, "Dude, I'm in Arizona." And he said, "Have you tried finding one closer to you?" And I'm going, "No, I'm in Arizona. I need a drive shaft. So let me start looking in Ohio." So anyway, I'm still looking for a drive shaft.
Oh, you're venting right now, which I like that. It's good. All right. Somebody out there wants you to stop by their trailer because they have a gift for you and they're not allowed to bring it to the tower. The problem is I don't know who it is. So maybe that person can say who it is so that Alan will know so he can go by to get his gift. But maybe it's not a gift, Alan. Maybe you're going to get whacked. Like that's the way things happen.
Everybody loves me. It's a gift. Send me an email, announcer@nhra.com. I'll stop by. Actually, let me tell you that I will try to stop by. I will be a whole lot more mobile this weekend than I have been for the first 3 Indies, simply because Joe's going to be there. Very grateful for Joe being there. So that'll give me a little bit of freedom, but we still are, under kind of semi sort of lockdown mode a little bit. So I don't get to go out and do quite as much roaming and checking out and personalizing as I have in years past, which is part of the reason that I went to the test last week, because there were a couple of guys that I needed to talk to that I knew that would be an opportunity. So I went.
Matt and Melinda are speaking of getting invited to do things. They want to know if we want to hold the wheelie bar during the double throttle whack in the Leverage Racing Pit on Friday night. So that's basically advertising that there's going to be a double throttle whack in the Leverage Racing Pit. I know Joe Morrison was going to reach out to you, and they did a good job with their effort a couple of weeks back. They were in the mix. They went like a 4-0. That's all you can expect them to do. They're trying to build and earn a fan base.
Everybody's got to start someplace. And, if you've got the budget to start at Don Schumacher's, then God bless you. But if you don't, then, I think, we've watched a number of people over the years that have taken the path, have come out, let's just be careful. Let's take care of the equipment we've got. Let's go down the racetrack. We're not looking to set the record. We're not looking to qualify number 1. But if we come out here and blow up 2 motors, we put ourselves out of business for the year. So let's go out and let's be careful and let's just kind of learn and grow. And, let me tell you, if that's not a roadmap for what TJ Zizzo's done for the last 5 or 6 or 8, 10 years, right?
Right.
And now they've been able to increase their parts inventory. They've been able to increase their knowledge to the point where they are running much quicker and more competitive than they were, say, 8, 10, 12 years ago. And, you have to get started someplace. And the one thing that the Leverage team has done from the time that they've been out there, and they've had a couple of different people in the car, as a general rule, they're not going to be number 1 qualifier. They're not going to set the racetrack. They're not going to set the track record, but the car is going to go down the racetrack and they're not going to hurt a bunch of stuff. And that's what keeps them in business.
Excellent. It's Gerda June and Lex and Gerda who have the gift for you. And as we're clarifying, our friend Tim Charlet says Joe Morrison will not be driving the leverage car this weekend, that it's going to be Cam Ferret. And so Cam's going to be driving the leverage car. They are still going to do the double throttle whack. And Joe Morrison has a thing with Right to Breathe, which is his charitable arm for people with COPD. So we got that all dialed in. But hey, that's great. Good to see Cam out there. Speaking of guys with building and growing fan bases, and Cam hadn't been able to race since we took a break. So he's, I'm sure, excited to be back.
I wonder if that means there's going to be somebody else in Terry Haddock's car, or
Yeah, well, exactly. This is like, we're
if my phone wasn't my camera, I'd be like doing this for Terry Haddock right now.
We're shuffling the deck. Edwin wants to know, who do you like, Hulk Hogan or Fast Jack in the rescheduled final round?
Yes.
Yes. It's going to be good. That's a tough final round right there.
You got two DSR cars going head to head. I think it's tough to pick a favorite. We'll wait and see. Ask me again on a Saturday afternoon after I watch both cars run, see who's looks like they're going to be more comfortable this weekend. I will tell you this, though, if you want to share your opinion, that is going to be my pick a side poll on Twitter that'll start Friday afternoon and run up until, just before the race on Saturday. It's something I started doing at the last event on tour, is a couple of times during the week when I'll look at the upcoming matchups and just blast up a poll where you got to pick a side. Tell me who you're rooting for, and we'll see whose side the fans are on before they pull up on stage.
I'll definitely retweet that from my @WFO account. They're both. I like both of these guys. I got good relationships with both of these guys. Their crew guys are both awesome. They tell me all kinds of information. They're both quick and they're both fast. I don't know. It's going to come down to the day, right? Like, who's nicer to me on that given day? Like, who does something cool for me between now and then? That will determine who I wish my good energy upon.
See, I think if it was an arm wrestling match, it'd be pretty easy to call.
Yes.
If it was who's got the coolest El Camino, that'd be pretty easy to call.
Yes.
But when they're both driving DSR funny cars, that's not an easy call. That's a classic. Who's having the better day? And
it'll be the DSR 350th win. Although Ron Capps, he's laying claim to it. I told him he should claim and have people tell him no. But like, from his angle, he should claim it anyway and make people tell him no. Put it in the bio. They're going to make him erase it. Like, you're not going to tell him, like, hey, this isn't right because this and that. When you're explaining you're losing, just claim it. And we'll have two drivers who claim to be the 350th, and everyone will sort it all out.
Fun story. I'm doing a charity auction one time and had a couple of front wheels off of a dragster. And so when I was selling the front wheels, I said, okay, look, here's the deal. This wheel was either on Gary Selzy's car when he set the national record, or this wheel was on Gary Selzy's car when he crashed in Topeka. Whichever one you want, I will get you a certificate of authenticity to go with it, signed by Gary.
Right.
What would you like this wheel to be on? And it was actually pretty funny. They had two of them to sell. One of them wanted it to be the record wheel. One of them wanted it to be the wreck wheel. So it worked out perfectly.
There it is. Yeah, I think it's in situations like that, you just go with it. Like, I learned a few years ago when we were asking me, Joe, is it going to hold? And at first I was like, yeah, I don't know. No, the answer is, they're going to the top, Alan. They're going number one. Going to set a record. It's going to be amazing. And if it doesn't work out, no one will even remember what I said. But if it works out, I'm the guy. And so I have adopted that wholeheartedly. So I'm happy to see Andy Bowl on the alcohol entry list and top alcohol funny car, and thinking about, Bellemere going for 3 in a row. Chris Marshall, though, I think the heartbreak story, Erica out for redemption for last year. Chris Marshall out for redemption for the last 2 years. Runner up in alcohol funny car 2 years in a row. He's back to try again.
Yeah, he was part of the race up in Montana last week, that the one that Brian Haug and Johnny Lindbergh won. The one thing that I don't know, and maybe you know this, I don't know if you got the entry list in front of you, is Johnny Lindbergh on the list?
Let's see. Brian Howe, Chris Marshall, Annie Whiteley, Doug Gordon, Chris Houle, Jay Payne, Dan Pomponio Jr., DJ Cox, Ray Drew, Tony Bogolo, Chip Beverett, Brian Gullick, John Headley, Josh Haskett. They had a fire. That was, I saw it on social. I don't want to go too far into reporting it, but yeah, something happened on their way to the track. Andy Bowl, Rob Feister, Phil S., Chris Foster, Bob McCosh, Mike Dishgunian, Johnny Lindbergh. And
Johnny would be at the bottom of the list because his number starts with an 8.
And Aaron Rochon. Yes, Johnny is at the bottom of the list. But yeah, he is on the list. And I am sure he wants to go win this race for all the emotional reasons tied to Richie and Jake and obviously Dom, which the Lagana family put out a new update on Dominic. And you're all welcome to go to the social media and my page in particular to see the update. Gary Pritchett put it out there. You should read it for yourselves. I don't want to characterize any of it, but obviously Dominic's still fighting. Lagana Strong t-shirts available at nitrofishracing.com. The GoFundMe account. We're still flying Nitro Ninja up there in the right-hand corner. But Johnny Lindbergh, like, what else can he do in this helpless feeling moment other than go out and win the race? And I expect him to compete.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know, Richie Crampton was supposed to drive that car for this race. Johnny drove it when we were out a couple weeks ago, entered it just to shake it down and knock the cobwebs off of it, make sure it was ready to go, and he ended up winning. So that's why I was wondering if Johnny had entered the car or if they were going to sit it out since Richie wasn't going to be able to drive it. But I'm glad to see him there, and I think there's definitely going to be a lot of emotion riding on that car, as there will be with the Capco cars, obviously, because of the Lagana brothers and family. Yes.
And someone who I don't know who they are, basically a question that allows us to emphasize what you just said. Will this Indy lose some luster because we've had all those Indy races previously? And I think absolutely not, my opinion, because of all that. Those Indy races had no history. They were pop-up races. This race has history. Go ask Chris Marshall why he's showing up. Go ask Johnny Lindbergh, his reasoning to show up. The Capco team, Erica, like everybody has a reason to go out and try to win the big go, whether it be competitive, financial, or otherwise. And those other races, I don't think take anything off. In fact, maybe it makes it more intense because everyone has had like 3 big Indy test sessions now.
Well, I think that if you're looking for the definitive answer to that question, there's 891 names on the entry list. Go ask them if they think it's just another race. Right.
All right, Jerron is out there. He wants to know who your pick is to win Super Comp. 167 cars entered, including him. And that's obviously what it's about. He wants to get the big.
My final is Dan Fletcher and Luke Bogacki.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unless Biondo shows up, in which case nobody's got a chance.
You've called the final round. Fletcher and Bogacki. Wow, you're calling Fletcher in the final in Super Comp. You're always running him down on that category, Alan.
Joe, that's a joke. That's like calling you to win the slam dunk contest.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you are running him down again. What you doing? Like, here I am thinking like, wow, this guy's doing something nice for Fletcher. Fletcher won that race that time, and maybe he's earned some respect from Alan. No, in fact, the opposite.
I love Dragster Dan. I mean, when he went to the, whatever it was, the 10,000 or the 20,000 or the $9 billion to win race, gets down to the semifinals, cashes out, or gets down to the finals. Remember that?
No. Maybe.
You don't remember that? It was like recently. Driving the station wagon.
Yes. Okay.
You remember that? He goes to the final, and then I think he got dumped by T-Dub, just like everybody else on the planet that weekend. But 160 Super Comp cars. Ask the Super Comp winner if he thinks this is just another race with 160 cars to go through.
Well, and Jerron even says that because this is his first. This is the big go. Like every time there's somebody competing in their first ever, and so there's never any luster lost. And as somebody becomes dissatisfied and walks away from the sport for whatever reasons personal to them, there's 3 or 4 young people coming in with their own new fresh energy. And that's just the way it works. I just want to point out, everybody, that you can go and win over 100 NHRA national events and be one of the greatest to ever do what you've done. And Alan Reinhart's still going to pick at you a little bit, that's kind of cool. That's kind of a good, nice, balanced approach, Alan. Speaking of 100-time winners, David Rampy going to be back.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the sentimental favorite, certainly in the All-Stars, since in his incredible career, he's never won the All-Stars. He's had plenty of cracks at it, but just never got it done. And he's obviously going to have pretty good equipment. He's driving Gary Stennett's Super Stalker. So, the fact that he retired last year, but, went to, I believe it was No Problem Raceway, went to one of the Division 4 events just to protect his All-Star spot so he could come back here and have one more crack at that. I think that's pretty special. And, I love Dan Fletcher. Don't misunderstand. But, Dan Fletcher twice has basically limped into Arizona with his rig and going, "Can you help me? I'm broke down. I need this welded. I need this fixed. I need this." And it's like, "Okay, Dan, yeah, what do you need?" "Well, I'll be in town at 3 a.m. If you could meet me there, get me going by 4, that'd be great." And it's not quite that bad, but no, Dan, I think it was, I guess it was 96. I think it was 96 when I really started talking to Dan. I mean, I'd seen him at the racetrack a couple of times. Maybe it was 94, but he hadn't really, he wasn't one of the known guys at that point in time. And, we had a chance to just kind of sit down and shoot the crap for a couple of minutes and hit it off. I mean, he's a really good guy. He's really dedicated to his craft, and he's fun to make fun of. So there's that.
Well, he's a character. When I'm always thinking about a reality show, I have to say Street Outlaws style, but with our form of racing, where you get to know the characters and they talk about what they're doing and you build up to the race. Like, I think Fletcher would be a must cast. He's one of the characters that you'd have to have in on the show to talk about all the stuff associated with racing, because he's got this kind of weird, he's great at it, but self-deprecating humor about it. Like, why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? And yet he goes out and has great success. So I would pull for Dan Fletcher in a situation like that. Jolie Mitchell is out there, says she got to play charades with you a few weeks ago in Indy.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's, I probably was out there with Aaron Stanfield. Maybe she was on the starting line.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
When he broke a rocker room.
Ah, there it is. Did she win in charades, or were you the one guessing? I guess you were the one guessing.
It really was kind of funny. I thought it was fun.
That's Josh Tanksley says Rampy drove my dad's Chevy too at Belle Rose. You got to get him to sign it, of course. I got a question from the fairway. Is this the year Caps pulls the Dale Earnhardt with the big win at the Big Go? Says Andy Grain, who is a golfer. He's a professional golfer, and he is out there on the course right now watching us, asking questions. And don't shank it into the woods, Andy. What do you think? Is this the year for Caps? I wasn't even
he comes in with momentum. He won the last race at Indy, so he definitely comes in with a little momentum. And it was interesting that, Lucas Oil Raceway Indianapolis is the only national event track that Ron Capps had not won an event. Well, he now has, because he won the one, and that certainly counts. That's a victory at Lucas Oil Raceway Indy. But it ain't the U.S. Nationals. And as happy as he was to get that, if he could come back and win again this week, that I think would be light years ahead of last week's victory, even though it's going to pay, the same points, but having a trophy that says U.S. Nationals champion is a pretty special thing.
Well, it'll actually pay a couple more points, but yeah, I agree. Like, the Caps was happy, just like with the 350th win, right? They claim it, of course. Whether someone fights you on it, that'll be fun and entertaining. Did you win at Indy? Yes, you did. Did you win Indy? Not yet. And I think Caps wants to get it, and they're on a mission. And like you said, they've got momentum. If there is such a thing as momentum in nitro funny car racing. Edwin's asking about Tony Schumacher in testing. Do you know?
Ran well.
Nice.
Yeah, he definitely ran well. He was out there. Mike Green was out there working with him and working with the guys. A lot of the teams in testing, as you know, Joe, you've been there enough times. They're making 300-foot runs, or they're making 8-mile runs. They're not necessarily going to the stripe, and they're not trying to set the world record. But Tony ran very well. Made a lot of really solid runs out there. I certainly think he's going to be more of a contender than he was the first couple of times that he showed up out there, simply because he now has his own team. And he now has Mike Green's undivided attention, because there are so many people that look out there and go, well, geez, what's the big deal? You just build another car and, just run it like they run Antrons, and it should run exactly like Antrons.
Yeah. Put another one.
That's not how it works. And, if it was legitimately that simple to do, then why in the world would Don Schumacher have as many crew chiefs on the payroll as he does? Why wouldn't you just find one tune-up and put it in all of your cars and go and have at it? And the reason is because you've got to have somebody looking over that particular car. They all have a little bit of a different personality. They all have a little bit of a different, a different feel, a different whatever, that each person, each crew chief has to get comfortable with. And very often the difference between a car that runs spectacular and a car that runs okay is the change that's made at the last second. Whether it's opening the foot box and changing one of the clutch flows, whether it's plugging a different timing map in. But that oftentimes is the difference between a car that runs great and a car that just kind of runs okay. And the only way that you can make that change is if you're solely focused on that car. You just simply can't do that if you're focused on 3 or 4 different cars. So I think Tony's going to be a whole lot more of a factor this time for that reason and that reason alone.
Well, that makes great sense, and I am excited. Here's one from Jalen, who asks some really good questions from time to time. We have a balanced audience between Nitro fans, fans of racing, people who watch on TV on NHRA.tv, and also a lot of Lucas Oil Series racers like Jolie Mitchell and Sportsman Racers, folks like Jerron and out there. And so, like, the criteria, which is the great benefit of our sport, you can actually go out and compete at the same time at the same event as the professionals that are on TV. But Jalen wants to know, with the U.S. Nationals, do you have to have certain criteria to compete in the Lucas Oil Series, or is the same as a normal national event? Of those 891 racers, how do they get to be the ones that compete?
Well, it's the same as it is at any national event. The quotas are a little bit bigger for the U.S. Nationals. They have a lot of space there, that plays a big factor in a lot of the races. If you go to a track that does not have a lot of space, you simply can only put so many cars in there. When you go to a racetrack that does have a lot of space, then you're allowed to expand the entries a little bit. But no, it works exactly the same way as any other national event. And the way that is for the uninitiated, from a sportsman standpoint, you gain grade points when you go to the Lucas Oil Series events. When you go to the divisional meets or when you go to the regional meets, you get grade points when you enter those races. And what they normally will do is they will open up entries, let's just say 2 months out. They'll open up entries for anybody that's a grade 8 or better, enter. And then a couple of weeks later, it'll be, okay, grade 7. And then it'll be grade 6. And then it'll be, so that way, the racers that support the Lucas Series on the local level, the ones that go to the regional and the divisional events, get an opportunity to enter first. And then they just keep dropping the quota until they run out of entries. If the quota for the particular category is, let's say they're going to take 64 cars in Super Street, and Joe and I both want to go. Well, Joe ran the Baby Gators, and Joe ran Orlando, and Joe ran in Valdosta, and Joe ran in Charlotte. So he's got 4 grade points. The only race I went to is the Baby Gators. So when they open, they'll say, okay, who's got 5 grade points? You guys are in. Who's got 4 grade points? And Joe goes, that's me. And then they keep filling it up. Now, when they get down to the guys that have 3 grade points, if they have their 64 cars entered, then the field is closed and I don't get a chance to go. But next year, if I want to go, then I just need to know. I need to go to a few more races because they reward the people that support the regional and the divisional series. And there are exceptions to the rule. If you are a former world champion, you can get in. As I said, if you're a defending event champion, there are some exceptions to the rule, but that's basically how it works. The more you run on the divisional regional trail, the better your chances are of getting into whatever national event you want.
Since so many people are on Facebook all the time and at home and complaining, that's one of the things I hear people complaining about, quotas, right? Like a quota system. I think that is as just a way as you can do it. You've got limited space, you got limited time. The two limited things you cannot create any more of. Space at the track, as trailers have gotten bigger and pits have gotten bigger and everyone's got more space to take up, and time spots at the racetrack. We can only get X amount of cars down the track. Who should get those spots? Well, I think the people that show up at the Lucas Oil Series on the most regular basis should be. How on earth are you going to tell someone that goes to all of your other events, no, you can't go to the big event because this guy that just showed up for the very first time is getting in? No, nothing works like that. And so I actually think it's cool. I would love to have more space and more time to have more cars, of course. Derek wants to know, are there any one-off racers, so infrequent racers, come out to a couple of events a year that stick out to you? Fletcher, he's over 100. Rampy's over 100. We know those guys because they win all these races. But what about like the real part-timers that only go out to a few? He wants to know if any of them stick out in your mind.
No, not really. I mean, there are certainly a few racers out there that on the national event side we'll only see at their home track. You know, there are probably a handful of racers that we will see at Topeka, but we don't see them anywhere else. I know, you know, a few guys around here that will run the national event in Phoenix, but they don't go, you know, because they're not chasing the points, they're not chasing the circuit. But when the nationals come to town, they want to go be a part of that big show at their home racetrack. And so, you know, if that means that they need to run the Lucas Series event in Tucson and the one in Phoenix and maybe go to Vegas so they can guarantee their spot in, then they'll do that. But, you know, there are a few of those everywhere we go that, you know, guys that will run one race or just two races a year specifically because they want to run their home event. And, you know, and it's a big deal. You know, when one of my guys around here goes to Phoenix and wins, you know, it doesn't matter what the category is, but to have that national event Wally from your home racetrack is a big deal for racers like that. And so there are some of those in every region.
Some breaking news coming across the desk as we speak. And Justin alluded to this. Those of you that watch the happy hour show, and if you didn't see the happy hour show, like Alan already gave it a compliment, said it was funny. Everybody is loving it. For whatever reason, though, you know, sometimes Facebook algorithms, the shows like blow up, like everybody watches them, and then some get seen less than for whatever reason. This one is confusing me a little bit because I know we had a great time, but Justin referenced a new sponsorship announcement, and here it is. Justin Ashley Racing teaming up with Manscaped. The perfect fit for my team. Their products are about precision engineering, power, and design, just like my race car. So comfort is also something I'm always thinking about. And for those of you who remember what they were talking about, that's where the balloon knot reference came in. Justin Ashley, see, it kills him every time. Justin Ashley going to have Manscaped on the car. This team, they are doing a great job with the marketing relationship. That is an email that just went out minutes ago.
Huh. All right. I guess I'm not going to win the pool. I thought it was Zizzo Auto Body.
No, exactly. I don't know. I wonder if they're going to be doing swag for the reporters, man. Maybe we can get some razors.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to have a new company taking a look at NHRA as a marketing tool. I think that's great. And welcome aboard.
Non-endemic.
Yeah.
It's like a razor. Like everybody's got to shave. They got to escape. Jan Peterson out there, of course. So glad you'll be in Indy. Stop by Angelo DiCarlo's pit, Superstock 64 vet, red gold. You won't be disappointed. And of course, Jan and Art had that beautiful GTO out there in Pomona that we did an attention in the pits on, plus Pontiac Power. And Art gave me the secret to painting cylinder heads so that they don't brown, but I'm not allowed to tell anybody. But really cool. Everyone, he told me, he made me swear, Alan. He's like, I'm going to give you the secret how to not have the exhaust ports on cylinder heads, cast iron cylinder heads turn brown, but you can't tell anybody. And so I felt like I was sworn into the Freemasons or a gang or something.
Yeah, well, you know, you Pontiac guys, yeah.
We're a weird breed. That's true. Pontiac guys.
It's like you can have a conversation with Jason Lyon and he seems like a regular human being until somebody comes over and asks him a Buick question. Then he goes, and he turns into this whole Buick thing.
Into Buick mode. Also, Sanit hand sanitizer with Justin Ashley. But I think the Manscaped one is going to be much more fun on the microphone. People want to know what you think about Pro Modified with all these cars, and we got a final round. Spoke with Jason Scruggs on the show Thursday. In case anybody missed it, that's in the podcast archive. Scruggs, who I had never spoken with. What a cool guy.
Yeah.
First of all, their family farm, like 20,000 acres, and it's not like one plot of land. They got some over here and some over there, and they grow this on this one, and they grow that on that one. Like, that's got to be a tough business to manage. But came up, started as a bracket racer, supercharged small blocks, liked going fast, tried going faster and faster, had the quickest small block in the country for a while. Now he's got a shot to win his first NHRA Pro Mod race against Chad Green. And then, of course, that's the tune-up to the Big Go, where we've seen some drama over the past couple of years, you know, Stevie Fast and going on to win a championship and just really exciting stuff. Let's get some thoughts about Pro Modified, and I'm sure a lot of it has a lot to do with the weather conditions.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big telling factor. I think had we run it when we were there before, I think Chad Green had the advantage simply because warm, muggy, seems to favor the nitrous cars over the rest of the field. If it really is going to be crisp and cool, then I think that tilts back a little bit towards the blower cars, and that may give Jason a little bit of an advantage. Jason was, he was one of the cars that was there testing last week, but from what I've seen from the weather, anything you learned last week is not going to play from a tune-up standpoint. If you were playing with shocks or trying to get your suspension right or trying to get, then obviously that's going to help you wherever you go. But I think that anything you learned from a tune-up standpoint last week is not going to help this week. But, we'll see. Time will tell.
It's going to be a battle. That's the thing. A knockdown, drag out war. The Pro Charger cars are still, ramping up their learning curve, and I expect them to get quicker and faster. It is going to be a whole lot of fun. Let's talk specialty races. Last week, we really dove in on the Mellow Yellow Series. Doug Castello will be on tomorrow. So Factory Stock Showdown. I mentioned before the show started that Chris Holbrook and Bill Skillman, according to Chris Holbrook on Factory Stock Podcast, are not going to be there because of the rules changes to the CJs, and that they don't want to make any more changes, basically. Kevin Skinner with a Cobra Jet has changed his car, is going to be there. Whoever decides to show up, and this is kind of an Alan Reinhart thought process, like the race is about the people who show up, not the people who don't show up. Now that we know the reasoning, that's fine. This is going to be a very exciting race, a chance to win Indy in the Factory Stock Showdown cars.
Yeah, and you just got to beat the people that show up to race. I really can't comment on either Skillman or Holbrook. I haven't spoken to either one of them, and so I'm not going to try to read their minds if they're not going to be there. I think that's a shame. But we should have plenty of cars there, and it should be plenty fun to watch. There were a couple of showdown cars that were there testing last week, and I think most of I would call the results from what I saw inconclusive. And I didn't necessarily see every car go down a racetrack, but they were struggling a little bit. Of course, it was very warm. It was very muggy. And, it's those cars, it's a matter of trying to manage the power that you have. And that's why you go test. Sometimes you got to figure out this won't work.
Right. And that is the upside for those people that are enraged or angry about different rules changes. You guys in qualifying at the last race, their first race of the year, watching qualifying on NHRA.TV for Factory Stock Showdown was brutal because they were just blowing them off. At some point, too much horsepower, too little tire, and extremely hot track conditions, it's not going to add up to good racing.
Yeah, but that's where the crew chief earns their daily bread. You got to understand that, okay, let's say conditions won't allow us to run 790 out here. If all the conditions allow us to run is 806, let's go run 806 and win the darn race. Let's not try to run 790 and then hopefully, we win a pedaling contest. And that's, exactly, it's exactly the mentality that Nitro crew chiefs go through every time they go to the starting line, because they know they've got enough power to smoke the tires. So how quick can we go without smoking the tires? And if you think you can run 365, great, bring it. But if the only thing the track is going to give you is 385, take the 385 instead of trying to go prove a point, smoking the tires and losing a race.
Mickey Thompson Pro Bike Battle, an interested observer out there, Corey Savoy, whose bro Jerry will be running Andrew Hines first round. They announced the first round matchups. This would normally have been held at Sonoma. It's a bummer that we don't get to go to Sonoma this year, but at least we'll see the Pro Bike Battle. Last year's runner-up Eddie Krawick versus Hector Jr., 2018 winner Matt Smith versus Angel, newly confident winner Angel. Jerry versus Andrew, last year's winner, and Scotty Polachek versus Steve Johnson. One or the other of those two going to go into the next round and have a little momentum. Hard to not root for a Scotty or a Steve, given the way Scotty looking for his first win, trying to stay out there, fighting money, Strutmasters jumping on saving their season last year, and Steve Johnson, all he went through with Jock and the COVID crisis. Regardless, going to be a great race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'm really curious as to what engine Steve is going to have in his bike, because I hope this isn't a secret. This might be a secret, so plug your ears. But Steve is working on a 4-valve combination. What? He's had one on the dyno, and he's been playing with it down in the shop. And so I don't know that it's necessarily ready to go into the motorcycle yet or not, but he has definitely been working on that. Chris Bostic was at the test session this last week with a 4-valve in the bike, actually making some runs down a racetrack. And so that, the combination that became legal at the beginning of the year that some of the guys are now starting to work on and put some time in. Don't know that it's ready to necessarily come out and dominate or maybe even come out and compete as of yet, but there is some effort being put forth there. So, I guess we'll find out when we get to the racetrack. We'll shoot Steve a text when we get there and ask him which engine is in the bike when we get ready to go for that.
That is great. Well, if I was a pro stock motorcycle racer, I would, in that situation, I would be throwing everything I had into that. The new parts, new design, better way, get ahead of it, and try to dominate 2021.
Sure. But it comes down to a matter of time and budget. And, Steve is trying to do so much of this by himself now. And, the reason that he's doing some of his own engine development, some of the other stuff is because his budget just isn't to the point where he can go out and buy everything anymore. And so, I applaud him for attacking and doing what he's got to do, but there's a whole lot of learning curve when you start working on a new combination, and I don't think you have to look any farther than Elite Motorsports a couple of years ago, when they changed from the GM platform to the Dodge platform.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's still 500 cubic inches. It's still 2 valves per cylinder. It's still a pro stock engine. How tough can this be, right? Well, it's different. And you have to kind of work on a different mentality that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of experimentation. And a big thing that you've got to do when you make a change like that is unlearn stuff. Because we've been doing this for 20 years and it's always worked. That doesn't mean it's going to work over here. And that can be a really, really tough hill to get over when, we know this works. It's always worked, but you're not working on the same thing. It's a little bit different. So that's one of the things going into the 4-valve is I think a lot of the teams are going to find out that what has become gospel in a 2-valve isn't necessarily going to be the best way to go with a 4-valve, and trying to change that mentality and unlearn that is difficult.
I would be over there talking to Chris Holbrook is what I would be doing. I know they're very different, but maybe they're not as different as we think. Get your final questions for Alan Reinhart in the comment section right now. This is one that's actually interesting. Mike Salinas has been kind of a breakout star, Scrappers Racing, great family. But they said they're not going to race for the remainder of this year. And so Edwin wants to know, well, what does that mean for Alan Johnson? And I haven't heard hide nor hair of Alan Johnson. I know you guys are close, and maybe you do know. And is he someone that we might see walking around out there? Is he helping? Is he consulting? Do we know?
I don't believe that he's helping anybody, and I don't know. It would be pure speculation on my part, but I assume kind of like Jimmy Prock is still on the payroll of John Forces, because when John comes back, he wants Jimmy to be there, and he doesn't want him out working for somebody else. I assume that Alan and Mike Salinas have reached some kind of arrangement where Alan is on hold until Mike Salinas comes back. And remember, Alan Johnson's core business is manufacturing parts.
Right.
Alan Johnson Performance Engineering that makes a lot of parts for nitro cars, for alcohol cars, for truck and tractor pullers, and just all kinds of different things. And I know for a fact that he had a couple of new projects that he was working on in the shop. So, he certainly is not sitting home wondering how he's going to pay his bills next month. And he's certainly not on the golf course every day because he's got nothing to do without racing. He is still running his core business. And check out, I believe it's AlanJohnsonCylinderheads.com, but they do a lot of high performance stuff in a lot of different arenas. So he's keeping busy with that.
Now, are those AJ heads behind you, or are those different? The
Stage 7 is an AJ head.
There it is.
The alcohol head is a top secret prototype that I'm not allowed to tell you came from AJ.
Oh, okay. Excellent. That is very exciting. So we've got one confirmed and one that we did not officially confirm. That is excellent.
Actually, if you go to NHRA's Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is, MySpace, and do a search, Brian Loans and I did a shop talk episode that was focused on cylinder heads. And these are two of them that I talked about, in that some of the vast differences between an alcohol head and a nitro head.
I recall that. It was very informative. The runner shape was where I kind of lost it, in that the runner shape for no supercharger is very different than the runner shape with supercharger.
No doubt about it. Whether you're trying to draw air through or force air through will change the basic design of a cylinder head. And even though these are both being, they're force fed, but an alcohol engine is more cubic inches than a nitro engine. An alcohol engine is more RPM than a nitro engine. So they need more valve, they need more port, they need more breathing ability. than a nitro engine does, and they need, a separate head.
Excellent. Alan, very excited. We could go on, but we do not need to because the big go is just days away. Got Doug Coletta tomorrow at 4:00. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Can't wait to get up there and reconnect with drag racing. A lot of cars, a lot of work, but a whole lot of fun. And if you care about this sport, and I know you do, this is a very big deal. 66th DENSO Spark Plugs U.S. National. Got a final comment for everybody out there?
Just come see us at Indy. If you don't have your tickets yet, I think they're still available. And I am told on pretty good authority that there will be an announcement at some point during this weekend, definitively lining out the rest of the NHRA season. There's always been a lot of stuff that's been up in the air, and because local regulations and local rules and things have been changing time to time, but things look like right now they're beginning to stabilize. And it's my understanding that there will be an announcement this weekend laying out the rest of the season. And NHRA is absolutely positively not done after the U.S. Nationals, which has been a rumor that
crazy.
I mean, the classic out of thin air, because there's nobody at NHRA that ever thought that. There's nobody at NHRA that ever wanted that. And there's nobody at NHRA that ever even imagined that. But somehow somebody said, oh, I heard this, and it grew legs and took off on the internet. So that's going to be something to look forward to this weekend.
I don't know who said it, but a lie goes around the world twice before the truth even gets its pants on in the morning. And that has never been more true. Even racers, like they're asking me, are we done after Indy? I'm like, where are you getting this? I have no idea where that came from. I will say that I watched NASCAR from Daytona Saturday night. They had like 20,000 fans there, and it made me feel very good about our future prospects. But I will let NHRA make that announcement. Alan, I will see you on Thursday midday when I arrive. We're going to go right in, dive into work. Really appreciate it, and I'm very much looking forward to the 66th Big Go.
Thank you, Joe. I look forward to that. Has the truth considered just sleeping in its pants?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem this whole time. You got to get dressed, just stay in your clothes, and you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, just sleep in your clothes, and when you get up, you'll be ready to go.
I'll forward that.
All right, Joe, travel safe. I'll see you in a couple of days.
There he goes. Alan Reinhart, everybody, voice of the NHRA at NHRA Reinhart, and his announcer email where you should not be sending birthday shout outs and all that stuff. You got to put it on the back of a Pro Stock car. This guy is going to be there for 48th consecutive. Wow. I've got my 40-year Gator Nationals streak, and it's intact because I was there. And my dad's got his 40-year streak, which I am keeping his intact. The whole thing about streaks, if you make it, that's great, but I would not take away your streak if you didn't make it. That's just me. You got to get like a bonus because I don't want anybody to feel obligated. And people do. You do something for 48 straight years, man. You might. Here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, as far as questions people have asked about how much attendance will be allowed. And obviously it's not going to be full attendance. But if you want to go to the U.S. Nationals, don't think I won't be able to get in there. I think that's the best thing I can say to you. We're in this weird, bizarre position where we want everybody to be safe and we want to do the right thing, and we can't have 100% capacity, obviously. So we're going to be less. But you don't want to make people think that the capacity is going to be so low that they decide, I'm not going to go because there's a chance I might get there and I can't get in. That's not happening. So if you want to go to the Big Go, call and order your tickets and go. And Thursday and Friday are going to be awesome. Just the alcohol qualifying and the final rounds, all that. Factory Stock Showdown, Dodge Hemi Challenge, Mickey Thompson Pro Bike Battle, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And remember, we're ending on Sunday this year. So Monday, the actual Labor Day, will be spent traveling back home, or, who knows. But this is the Big Go. This is it. The greatest drag race on the planet. You want normalcy. You want normality. You want to go back to the way the world was in 2019. I'm telling you, you're walking the pits and you're hearing the sound of cars firing up. You hear that leverage racing, double throttle whack. You hear all that stuff. You'll be able to reconnect with the former world. You'll be able to reconnect. Plus, I'll be there. I'll be on the mic. That'll remind you of something, good, bad, or otherwise. It'll distract you for a second. Ronnie Kennedy says, 51st National, 7 years old, my first. That is so cool. We got to arrange for Carl and Ronnie to hook up together because, never mind. You guys still one short of 100 years of U.S. nationals. So there's no point in doing it. Just kidding, guys. Let's see what Monica. Final comments. Get them in the comment section while I try to sell stuff. Get them in the comment section, everybody. Oh, yeah. This was really good. Remember Doug Coletta tomorrow. Doug Coletta will be on tomorrow. You can go to nitrofishracing.com. Use the promo code WFO20. Get yourself a WFO Radio t-shirt. On WFOradio.com, we now have a WFO store. If you haven't figured out, everything starts with WFO on this show, which stands for Wide Freaking Open. Although someone said something very cute the other day, like wonderfully fun something. I don't know. But yes, go to WFOradio.com and get yourself a face covering. $10 with shipping. Plus, I'm going to throw some stickers in there for you. I don't know. I think that's very fair. You get the face covering, you get a couple of stickers, and I pay for the shipping out of the $10. You do that on WFOradio.com. You just go to WFOradio.com, WFO store, right-hand side. You can see we've got a growing venture there. It's going to get much better. But get yourself a face covering. Do that now. But maybe you don't want the face covering because whatever reason. You do want some stickers, and you want them for free. Bam. Castello Media /WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084. And I know what you're thinking. There's a new stickers banner. A new stickers banner. That's right. There is. Thanks to Steve Brenwald of Brenwald Media for watching the show and saying, man, Castello's struggling with that thing. Let me make him a new one. Steve Brenwald, Brenwald Media. He can do stuff for you too. And he's also overwhelmed by 50,000 rabbits. Also want to send a shout out to our Patreons. People who pay for the show, part of a VIP league of listeners that pay for special content. Like if I know something and it's not supposed to go out, maybe they find out about it. VIP listeners, patreon.com/WFO Radio. Really appreciate those guys. This is TJ Zizzo. He'll be running for the final round. Oh, there's the tie-in to Manscaped. There's the tie-in right there. Justin Ashley, TJ Zizzo. And remember, they have a bet. They have a side bet that we forced them to do. There's a side bet. Do I remember what the side bet is right now? No. Someone remind me. That was Friday. I had air conditioning going in. I had an install. It was chaos. I had to leave the show. If you haven't seen the happy hour show from Friday, it was wonderful. We had such a great time. Amanda was on the show and Jason Logan was on the show. And we just had we talked about our great times in Vegas. And then Justin Ashley and TJ Zizzo interviewed one another as they get ready for the big final round. It was really cool. Had a whole lot of fun. Also, last week had Nate Van Wagenen from Drag Illustrated on. We had Jason Scruggs, fantastic. Fast Eddie Federkyle, who's getting ready. It's been a great couple of weeks of hype. For you podcast listeners out there, you may remember the pre-Indy shows were always like these 6-hour marathon podcasts. We're not doing that because we're live here on WFO's Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, etc. But if you want podcast listening, head over to Hidden Horsepower. Now that there's this full page ad in the NHRA National Dragster, you might as well dive in on that and hear Tom Martino as he tells story about Bob Glidden and Warren Johnson, as he tells stories about just the greats. Bill Grumpy Jenkins, he's doing Grump's voice. Grump called him out. All the other drag racing legends like Ed Pink on there. And that's all because of Total Seal and TotalSeal.com. Going to talk a little bit. I got some other ones queued up. Joey Arrington already queued up. But it's to educate engine builders out there. And if you're an engine builder and you're not using Total Seal and you're trying to make max horsepower, and all these guys are telling you to do it, I don't know. You must have a very strong connection to your previous piston ring. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. I love the idea of the all-announcer dragster adventure. And now that Amanda has been drafted into it, it makes perfect sense. So we've got Alan and we've got me. We'll force Brian to do it, even though he hates driving because he says he's bad at it. Get Amanda in there. We need 4 more. I think we can do it. FrankHawley.com. When will that happen? That's the question. The logistics, always a nightmare. You don't have to worry about that, though, because you can go to FrankHawley.com. They travel around the country, and I think that it's time that you all do it. Drive a dragster. Experience the thrill. And finally, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Factory Stock Showdown. The CJs, how many are not going to be there? I don't know. Here's what I think about it. Okay, let me break down a little bit. Holbrook posted on his, if you haven't listened to Factory Stock Podcast and you love the factory cars, you know that we started the podcast with Samtech to promote the school and promote the class. And I love the class. I have been personally lobbying for stock roof and quarter panels on pro stock cars for many years. I think that it is a very significant part of pro stock. I like the A-pillar, the roof, and the quarter panels to be stock appearing. And that's what Factory Stock Showdown is all about. And so I love these cars, but they're getting quicker and quicker and faster. So we had Chris Holbrook on and asked him, hey man, what's your plan for Indy? And he told us, and I want you to listen to it. Don't take my word for it. Go to it and listen. But he says he's not going to go. And we start talking about the cars and the rules changes. Ned Walliser, Vice President Competition from NHRA, gave us a quote. I read him the quote. Quote relates to 790 being where they want the cars to be. And I said, Chris, haven't these cars gone like high 750s in NMCA trim? And he says, well, the quickest I've been is 766 and et cetera and so on. Well, this past weekend, he went 756 at 184. At US 131. So imagine it's a little cooler up there in Michigan. I don't know what the weather is, but having been there, it's beautiful. So you get some good weather, and you get a good track. 756 in a factory car with power windows at 184 miles per hour. I remember when pro stockers were going that in chassis cars. And that leaves 600ths of a second till the chassis cert rule. That's a little hairy. And so you can understand why rules are being made, but he goes into all of that, and you got to listen. And Aaron Stanfield is on there, and he gives his perspective. And of course, Kevin Skinner. It's a great podcast. Check it out. Thanks to samtech.edu if you're a fan of that category. I'm WFO Joe. I'm going to try to go hardcore social media. So follow me, Instagram and Twitter. Apple Podcast, Spotify. I had a gentleman say, I want to rate your podcast. I just don't know where. Apple Podcast is where you write the reviews and give us stars and stuff. We have an app also. The WFO Radio app is free. I don't promote it because we're thinking about getting rid of it. Did I just say that? Do you use the WFO app? Let me know. Email me, joe@wforadio.com. Because I'm thinking about, thinking about pulling the plug on it. Apple Podcast, Spotify, etc. Let me know. What do you think? That's where I use the Patreons. I ask them all kinds of business. Like, you want to be in the voting committee for WFO? That's why you got to get on Patreon. YouTube, subscribe, click the bell. YouTube. A lot of people love watching on YouTube. And of course, our WFO Radio t-shirts look like this. I would like for you to get them. Go to nitrofishracing.com. They have masks as well. So reach out about the masks and all of that stuff. All right, let's see what the final comments say. It's all a stall for you guys to get your final comments into the comment section. Let's see. It was pizza. That's right. If Justin wins, TJ has got to eat New York style pizza. Again, purchase, and I guess they'll eat it together. And if Justin wins, if TJ wins, then Justin's got to buy Chicago style pizza. The side bet was pizza, I think. Thank you guys for being diehard listeners and remembering stuff. If I could tell you the chaos that was going on here, I live in South Florida, and my air conditioner done blowed up, literally exploded. It heard me order a new one, and it said, oh yeah, screw you, Joe. Boom. I'm talking Freon everywhere. Problems. And so I did the happy hour show all day Wednesday. There was an install going on, and for my great friends Air Around the Clock, and got it in. But I even had to leave the show for a little while. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Regarding streaks, Monica, missing this year's race does not count against a streak. I agree. Thank you for the show. Have a nice day. Have fun in Indy. I will. Masks are a bargain. That's what I think, Jim. Everybody needs masks. These are good. They're double layer. They promote WFO. I think they're actually kind of cool. I've had people tell me they're comfortable and positive things about them. For $10 and you're helping the show, come on, go search through the couch. You'll find it. And click the link. It's real easy. Just use a PayPal deal. Let's see what Chuck says. Ordered my face covering on Friday, along with a Dom Lagana Strong t-shirt, running the mailbox every day to see which shows up first. Chuck, you ordered it from me on the website? I don't know. I sent out a bunch of stuff the other day, and I don't remember Chuck's name, on the letters to send out. Maybe you got it through Nitrofish. I don't know. Let's see. Lagana Strong. So true. Let's see. Carl will be there in the Top Eliminator Club this year. Good. Everybody's answering the pizza question. Hey, Joe, can't wait to see you in Indy. Depends on who you are, whether I feel reciprocity to that comment, because I can't tell who you are. What if it's, what if somebody I owe money? Oh, by the way, look at this on my microphone. You see the Lagana Strong wristbands. Atherback putting those out. Really appreciate that. Everybody, there's never been something that I think has united the NHRA community so much as this horrific tragedy. And honestly, if I'm going to break COVID protocol and social distancing, it's going to be to give Bobby Lagana a hug, if I'm allowed. Say, are they doing Nitro School this Saturday? No, none of that. Not yet. California, no way they will finish the season in Vegas, my guess. Yeah, someone was asking if we're going to end in Pomona. Wait for them to announce it. But if you've been following along with the news, California, like big sporting event type things, California seem unlikely. But wait for the announcement. Remember what we taught you or suggested early on in the COVID crisis. Don't try to get ahead of the news. Wait for the news to come to you, and you'll be good. Ronnie says, missed your voice at the last 3 Indy racing. Good to have you back. Hey, I'm not back there yet. You never know what'll happen. And Monica the Mask is a great fit. And there you have it, everybody. Another show in the books. For fans of Ignition, we had a blast from the past last night. It is in the podcast archive. Ignition is podcast only. For fans of my XM show, back like 15 years ago, when we fundamentally changed the nature of entertainment talk radio on satellite radio. That's where Alan and I met. Tommy Noodles was on the show for the entire show. Tommy Noodles joined us. It was very fun, entertaining. We talked NASCAR. We talked Daytona. We talked U.S. Nationals. He brought up a lot of fun and funny stories from the XM satellite radio days, thinking about Wide Open and our fantasy leagues. And it was great. Tommy actually has got a thing going on where his dog has been nominated cutest dog in America. And it's about voting. So we've posted that on the Facebook page. Let's see what it says right here. All right. I will go double check, Chuck. I'll send that out right now. Look at that. We're fulfilling masks on the air. We do it all on the air. I learned that years ago. My talk radio mentor, Neil Rogers. It's all on the air, man. No behind the scenes. All in front of the scenes. People like it. Even if you go off in a different direction, like when Alan's friend came in and said, hey, Alan, and people's like, yeah, 1 second. People like that. And I like to try to keep that alive. This fourth wall that keeps you away from me because I'm the broadcaster and you're the listener. Heck with that wall. Tear down. So, Chuck, well, I'll go sort it out right now, and we'll get it all dialed in. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, Doug Coletta, 4 p.m., Kevin McKenna, and then it'll be time for the big go. I appreciate you all. Remember stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida. Hit the WFO store on the Facebook page. Become a Patreon. Help the show directly. And if you've got nothing else going right now, just scroll down on Facebook, find that happy hour show, and find out how this happened. All right, see you next time. WFO.